Welcome to Swala Nyeti, the law podcast that pairs a layman and a lawyer to answer your legal questions of the day. Swala Nyeti is sponsored by the law firm of Kigwata and Company Advocates and is intended for educational purposes only.
Welcome to the 11th episode of Swala Nyeti. This is your lawyer, aka Wakili Harry Karanja, and I am joined here, thankfully, by Gashao.
Yeah, man, if you can see me here, you just know that I did not sleep inside.
Oh, all right, so at least you followed our advice.
Oh, yeah, man. You know, if I had gone to jail on Friday, I would have been going to court today. That's so.
Yes, you'd have been going to court this morning.
My goodness.
So, well, good to see you, Gashao. And
yeah, man. How are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm looking forward to the week. This is going to be an exciting week for us.
Yeah, man. You know, we'll be doing cases of landlords, tenants, COVID. It's tricky.
Oh, yeah, but very relevant
in
this period.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have for today's question?
Today, as we had mentioned in the last episode, we had a question from Susan, and this is the question. She says, "Hi, people. I hope you're good. I stay in a 2-bedroom flat in Donholm where I pay 15,000 shillings per month. When I moved in, I signed a 1-year lease which expired 1 month ago. I started hearing rumors that the landlord had gotten some foreigners who wanted to pay double the rent. I have asked him to renew my lease. And, unsurprisingly, he has refused to. And he told me if I do, I pay double the rent. I'm very worried because it's hard to get a flat at a similar price here. And now he's threatening to evict me at any time. My question is, can he really evict me?"
Okay, so if I understand correctly, Susan stays at a flat where she pays 15,000 every month, but her lease expired a month ago, and now the landlord is saying that he'll only renew her lease if she pays double the rent, or otherwise he is going to evict her, and she wants to know if this is possible.
Correct. And first, I don't understand how you can just double anyone's rent. Is it even legal in this country? And these foreigners, they could be illegal, and this is very suspect. But first, how do you just double the rent? Is it legal?
Okay, so let's first respect all our foreign investors. We appreciate you, of course. But what we want to find out here really is whether Susan is in danger of eviction. Before we get there, however, something we need to establish is whether there has been formation of a periodic lease.
What is a periodic lease?
So a periodic lease, first maybe I start by a lease. So a lease is an agreement between a property owner, a landlord, and a tenant that gives this tenant exclusive possession of the property for a period of time. And a periodic lease is a lease which is established not by agreement but by law. And what happens is if, for example, you have a landlord who has a lease agreement with a tenant, and then this lease agreement expires and the landlord consents for the tenant to continue staying at his property, there can be the formation of a periodic lease.
But how do we know the landlord has consented to the person staying past their lease has expired?
Okay, so one good example, of course, would be accepting rent even after the period of the lease is over.
Okay, and then let's say the landlord has consented, and then she has this, what we are calling a periodic lease. That means, therefore, you can live there forever without eviction.
Of course you cannot. I mean, even a periodic lease can come to an end. And the way it does so is by the landlord giving notice to the tenant.
And what kind of notice? What kind of notice? Can they just come and tell me, okay, now you have to leave?
No. A notice, when it comes to a lease, must always be a written notice. And this written notice it's usually for a period of time, and the period of time will depend on the nature of the periodic lease. So if the periodic lease is established based on how often the tenant pays rent. So if the tenant is paying rent every month, then the periodic lease is a month-to-month lease, and the notice period will be for at least 1 month, expiring on the day that someone's supposed to pay rent.
On the day someone is supposed to pay rent. So maybe on the 6th, because most of us pay rent on the 5th.
Exactly. So, for example, if someone has a periodic lease and you want to give them notice to leave, you need to give them that notice at least on the 6th, so that by the next 6th they leave. If you give them notice on the 20th, you can't ask them to leave on the coming 6th. You have to wait another month until the next 6th.
Because at the 30 days will not have elapsed by the next 5th.
Correct. And you have the lease terminates on the day that they are supposed to pay rent.
Okay. And let's say she gets this notice, written notice. Does that mean then that if she refuses to leave, she can be evicted?
Okay. So if Susan refuses to leave after she has received notice, the landlord can get an eviction order. And through this eviction order, he can force her to leave. He can get her evicted. Yes, that's possible.
And the only way I've seen evictions being done is with police, things being thrown around, people kicking sufurias. Is that how it should be done?
No, unfortunately, most of the evictions which are done unlawfully, because the law provides for a procedure when it comes to eviction. And some of the things which have to be followed in this procedure is, one, you have to serve that person with a notice that they're going to be evicted. You have to serve them with the actual eviction order, which has been obtained, whether it's from court or from a tribunal. And more importantly, you have to ensure that you respect the right of life, you respect their dignity, their right of property, their security as you are conducting this eviction.
Okay, Wakili. What if then in this case the eviction is unlawful?
If the eviction is unlawful, Susan has the right to go to court and seek compensation and seek remedies in terms of compensation or other remedies. But she does have this right if the eviction is unlawful.
But from what you already told us, Susan has a periodic lease. And that means, therefore, the landlord, one way or another, gave consent. Maybe he accepted rent for the 1 month extra. And that means, therefore, he cannot increase her rent if she refuses to sign a new lease. That's what I understand.
Well, Gashao, Susan might have a periodic lease depending on whether the landlord consented to her staying after the lease expires. It's not very clear from how she's explained it. So if he did in fact consent and it's not her who is sitting in the house refusing to leave, then she could have a periodic lease. And if she does have a periodic lease, then as we said, the landlord would have to give her notice to quit for her to leave.
There you had it, Susan. If you had not been asked to leave when the lease expired and you paid at least 1 month's rent, which was accepted by the landlord, then you might have a periodic lease. But you might only have 30 days left after you are served with a notice. And that is it from us at Swala Nyeti. Join us for our next episode's question, which comes from Jimmy. And he says, I have a mortgage on my house, but I have defaulted for 3 months after I lost my job because of coronavirus. Can the bank sell it? Can the bank really sell this house? Join us for the next episode, and from me, till then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
You have been listening to Swala Nyeti. Special thanks to our layman, Gashao Patrick, and our lawyer, Harry Karanja. If you have a legal question that you want answered, send us a WhatsApp message on 0708 111 222 or email us at admin@swalanyeti.org. You can find downloads to all our podcast episodes on our website www.swalanyeti.org.